I was speaking to a client the other day who was trying to grow her brand, and the number one thing she says was, it is so hard to get the first couple followers. Like, why is it so hard to get 100 followers? I think that first road from 0 to 1,000 is probably the most challenging one. It's where you're having to really understand what your audience wants, where your audience is, what they enjoy watching, what they actually want to learn from you, and then you kind of perfect it and go along. So in today's video, in the third video of this series, turning your passion, something you enjoy, into profit, something that you can monetize, make money from, and change your lifestyle. Today's video is going to be focusing on how to grow your audience and the key to creating engaging content. Now, let's start off with thinking about types of content that works really well. Like, this differs, and this, like, I'm saying this now, and in 6 months' time, it could honestly be so different. Different content works well at different times and on different platforms. Like right now, a lot of the platforms, so TikTok and Instagram, they're really pushing photos again. They're really pushing carousels. They're really pushing the still images. And even the other day, recently, Instagram has now allowed you to use 20 images in a carousel. And this was really frustrating me because on TikTok, I could use 20 or 30, I think, and I'd bring the pictures onto Instagram and I could only use 10. So you can see that these platforms are trying to revert back to the olden days, like the early days of social media where we posted pictures. And this actually keeps you on the person's page a lot longer because you're scrolling and you're going down this journey and you're looking at photo 1 and photo 2 and you're looking at the comments that they've written, and people are getting really creative. So there isn't necessarily a one shoe that fits all, and I think this comes down to trying out different content and seeing what works for you. So you might say, right, let me do one reel a week, one carousel a week, one TikTok, and seeing what kind of content actually works. So let me tell you a bit about how I grew rapidly in the last 6 months. So I was focusing quite heavily on AI in academia. And one of the things that I knew that people knew ChatGPT, right? So I knew they knew the word ChatGPT, but people don't know the word Jenny AI. They don't know the word Unriddle. They don't know the word PaperPal. Like, these are things that they're quite niche. If you know, you know. But everyone knew ChatGPT. So what I said was, I was like, okay, let me use the terminology. Stop using ChatGPT. Instead, use Jenny. Stop using ChatGPT. Instead, use PaperPal. Stop using ChatGPT. Instead, use these 5 or this 10, right? So I became known for making content, and it was really popular actually at the time, and loads of brands were picking up on it, that I was saying, stop using ChatGPT. And that was my initial, I wasn't like, hey guys, how are you? No. My first introduction to the video was stop using ChatGPT. I have already captured someone's attention. Some of those videos have hit over 1 million views, and it's because they garnered so much attention from that initial stop using ChatGPT. And now you're saying, right, so then what should I use? You know, that's what you're thinking. What am I going to use then? If I shouldn't use ChatGPT, what should I use? And then you want to wait and see what happens next. But I stumbled across this, I guess, structure because I made lots of other videos that were something similar. I made lots of content showing other AI tools, and I realized, but people they're not going to stop if I say to them, here's a tool called Jenny. Like, no one knows what that is. Like, the general public don't know. So by saying stop using ChatGPT, I've captured a wider audience, and that came with trial and error. So my advice to you when it comes to creating engaging content is just to create. Start creating content, different kinds of content. Use your phone. Your phone is absolutely fine. Where's my phone? My phone is right here. Always make sure you wipe the camera so you don't have any like fingerprints and it's as clean as possible. You know that when you see me do this, I'm taking a fire photo. So just clean the photo, clean the camera like this. And you want to always use the back camera as well, as much as you possibly can. But I also use the front camera, it works just fine. But use the back camera, take your content, you can do it on the go. And one thing that I'd recommend is to try to get some clips throughout your day, just your everyday clips. So a client that I had was actually working on a page about child psychology. And she was really focusing on how to grow her page about children, how to raise children who are kind, who are empathetic, who are smart, and she was using her PhD in child psychology to raise her own kids, but also to help her audience raise their kids. She doesn't show her face, and she also does not show her children's faces. And so she said to me, well, I'm finding it really hard to make content because I'm not showing my kids. I'm not going out, like I'm always with the kids, like she's a mum. I'm always with the kids, like what should I do? And I was like, record them on there they're just there every day. So they're in the park, they're running ahead of you, grab your phone, do a 10-second clip, you're done, you've got your content. And then when you go home at a later point, you can put some text in front of it. Let's say they're playing, they're reading a book, just kind of go above them and record some content. It just takes 10 seconds. Like, I'm not saying to be on your phone obsessively. It takes 10 seconds to grab a picture or to take a video, and that's all you need. The editing can happen at a later point. Just take that clip. That's all you need to do. So make it a part of your routine that you're capturing content on your phone. You don't need the crazy setup, the cameras, the lighting. Like, that's not necessary to do when you're starting. You're just starting a brand. So I wanted to share a creator. Her name is Alyssa Lenore, and she makes content about style, handbags, travel, and her dog. And I think she lives in New York, which is why I found her content. I love the New York kind of city style, and also similar to London. And she started posting video carousels, but using like written text on top of it. So instead of just posting plain pictures, she used some scribbles that she did, I think with her iPad. And then she managed to create this content that is so engaging, because you're scrolling through and you're like, oh, mini golf, oh, games night, oh, donuts. And she's like scribbled these things on the images, and it just makes it feel a little bit old school, and it gives that unique touch to her content. And this kind of content is doing really well. And you could do something similar to that in your niche. How can you take that trend where people are kind of scribbling on their photos and putting that onto your content, regardless of what that is? Now, I touched in the last video about planning and consistency, and I showed you how to use ChatGPT to build a content planner. But you're telling me that I need to post on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok every single day? Like, when am I going to get time to do anything else? My answer to that is to use a scheduling tool. There are so many out there. There's Later, there's Trello. I personally use Hype Fury. Actually, these days, platforms embed these tools within them. So on Instagram, you can actually schedule a post to be posted at a later point if you don't want it to be posted right now. So you could make all the content, schedule everything, and then go away, come back a week later, and everything is posted. The other day, my friend said to me, Amina, you're always on Twitter. And I was like, I have not opened the app in 2 weeks. I had just scheduled everything for the next month. And I use Hype Fury. I'll leave the link for it down below. I use it because it's the best for Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I don't think they do TikTok or YouTube yet, but it depends on what kind of platform you want to focus on. I'm happy to post on Instagram and TikTok myself as I go along, whereas on LinkedIn and Twitter, I want that to be automated, where I schedule my threads, I schedule my posts, and I realized that I need to do that so I'm not chronically online. I don't know how people do that. I don't know if you guys do that. I don't know, like, if that's what people do. I cannot be on my phone on social media all day. Like, it's not feasible. Like, it's not sustainable. It's not healthy. But this is the hack. The hack is to use a scheduling tool that works for you. And by doing this, you're able to just spend 4 hours, let's say Monday, 4 hours, or on a weekend, depends on when you do it. You spend 4 hours, you create all the content, you make all your reels, you make all your carousels, you post it all, and then you just go away. And then what I'd recommend you to do is just spend 5 to 10 minutes replying back to the comments. So reposting, retweeting, replying back, you know, whatever, sharing on your stories, but you're not having to like think of a caption on the spot and like think of this and edit and everything every single day. Like it would get so draining to do that. So this way works really well. And I know that lots of you that I've spoken to in the past couple of weeks since I've started talking about entrepreneurship more, lots of you are, you know, you have 9-to-5 jobs, you're doctors, you're mothers, you're parents, and you have your own things going on. Like you actually physically cannot be on your phone all day long. This is the solution. I never post on a daily basis. I batch film, I batch post, I batch edit, and then you'll see things on a regular basis, but it doesn't mean that I'm on my phone posting it on that particular day. So that's something to bear in mind. Most of your creators, most of them, I would say, especially in the educational field, are absolutely not doing this every single day. Okay, how do you know that content that you have created will do well? When I was trying to hire someone to make content for me on the Page Doctor social media, one of the things that I said is that content must be either shareable, savable, or likable. So it's content that I will save and I'm like, okay, this is really useful, I'm going to save this for later. Something that people would want to save for later, okay? So bear that in mind. Or something they want to share. Would you want to share this piece of content with your friend? Do you think someone will say, oh, this is really cool, let me share this with my friend? Or likable. So it could be entertaining, it's just funny, like, it just provides entertainment. It's something that they find aesthetically pleasing, relatable, they find value in it, and that's the end of that story. But you want to focus on the first two, because if they're saving it, it means that they're going to come back to this later. And if they're sharing it, it means that somebody else is going to come back to this later. So these two amplify your content, whereas the third one is just good for likes, it's good for engagement. It's also important, but it's not as important as being able to share and being able to save. And this is so important. I make this mistake all the time. I make content because I just like the content, and I forget that actually it's not always about whether I like it or not, especially if we're thinking brand, building a business. It has to be something that people are going to find value in, enough value that they then take action, right? So you're solving a problem for them, you're teaching them something they didn't know, you're helping someone that they might know, but it's so much so that they are tempted in that moment to do something, right? And I don't do that very often. For the most part, if I'm scrolling through 20 videos, there might be one that I do something, one that I comment, or one that I share, or one that I save. Like, it doesn't happen very often. So most content you see is redundant. You don't want to make redundant content. It's really important that your visuals are clean. It does not have to be aesthetically pleasing. It does not have to be in a clean house or in a clean setting. There are many creators that have grown in houses that are not aesthetic, that are messy, that are, whatever, not picture perfect. But it has to be relatable to your content. If I'm speaking about being productive, my house is a mess. Like, I'm not really going to be inspiring anyone around me, right? So it needs to be relatable. It needs to be somewhat inspiring and somewhat aspirational to the viewer. I always say that it's better to have good audio than good lighting and good visuals. Like right now, if it was super dark and you couldn't see me, but you could hear me perfectly, you would still listen, because a lot of the time we don't actually watch things. We put it in the background and we do our makeup, we get changed, we do these things, but the audio is on. So if the audio is bad, you'll lose the person straight away. And again, it really depends on your audience, but you want to try to connect with them in some way. So that could be like storytelling, which is why story times do so well. I don't have any good stories to tell, otherwise I would do story times. But if you have like good stories, or you can tell a story through your content, that's really useful. I've been following the founder of Odd News London. Her name is Amy, and I'm really inspired by, of course, her journey. But when I look at her content, I look at like why her content does so well. Like, all her videos get over 50,000, 100, 200, 600k. It's because she's telling a personal story. It's because she's taking you along on her journey. Like, she'll show you samples of dresses that she's made, and then she'll say, oh, this was meant to be, but I didn't know. And then in the comments, people are like, oh, we love this, give it to us in black, long sleeves, long dresses, whatever. And like, she's building anticipation, and she's taking people along the journey. She's not just releasing stuff and saying, hey guys, buy this. She's actually taking you on the journey. So then 6 months down the line, or 1 year down the line, when this dress is released, you feel like you're part of that decision-making process. I think she's done this at such a high level that I feel like it actually makes her really smart. I'm not sure if she's done this on purpose, or if she has just accidentally fallen upon sharing her journey like this. But if she's done this on purpose, I think she's really smart. Like I said, this is absolute marketing genius, taking someone through the journey. So let's say you're starting a new job, let's say you're starting a new company, taking people through day one. What should I wear for my first day at work in this corporate job? What's in my bag? What did I eat today? Day in the life, the first day working for Meta, right? Like, these are nice ways to connect with your audience, and you'll be able to land on the For You page because it's such unique niche content that the platforms will push it out to people that have watched things like this in the past. Now, one way that you can also push yourself and your page is by doing collaborations. Now, you're probably thinking, but I'm a small creator, I haven't got any followers, I don't have any following. There are two different ways that you can do this. One is that you can actually engage with other creators who have a slightly bigger following than you. So let's say you have 100, you can engage with someone who has 1,000. And if you were to maybe take some of their followers through them showing your content and them liking your content, that can get you to 500, right? And that's just propelling your growth slowly. So slowly, you're collaborating. And then you can work with brands after some time. But another way that you can do this is by doing something called UGC. Now, UGC is a topic all on its own, like this could be its own course. So I'm not going to delve too deeply into it, but UGC stands for user generated content. And this is essentially content that is what a content creator, like let's say an influencer like me, right? Someone who has a large following, instead of brands approaching me to make the following, they will approach you, a small content creator who has made a bit of content. Of course, you can't have nothing, like you've made some content, so you've shown them what your content style looks like. You can collaborate with them to make content for them at a price. So let's say you are a content creator that shares things to do with like babies and newborn and like mum hacks and parent hacks. You can collaborate with, let's say, Huggies or Pampers, and they will give you a pack of their nappies and they want you to show it in a certain way. You don't show your face necessarily. It's not about you. No one knows who you are, but you're making content for them, which they would have to go and hire a whole team, do a whole shoot, go to a location, hire out a location. Instead of doing all of that, they're just giving it to a UGC creator. So this is a good way of being you can actually make a lot of money. I have a friend that does this here in the UAE, and she's living here by herself and she's like 23 years old. So it's very, very possible to have a pretty decent income off of it, or even do it as a side hustle. So that's one way that you can collaborate with brands. So if you're interested in looking into it more, then search up UGC creator. There's so much content on it online now. And I think brands are slightly preferring to do collaborations this way because they're saving money. Instead of paying me 5, 6, 7, 10K because I've got the followers, they'll just pay a UGC creator, let's say £1,000 for example, and then they can push it to their own following. So I think as a UGC creator, it's amazing for you, but it's definitely a new way of influencing, and it's something a lot different to, I think, what most people are used to when they think influencer or content creator. I'm going to touch a little bit upon ads and marketing, but I think the aim of this series is focusing on the beginner, like really the early stages, and I definitely would not recommend paying for paid ads or buying followers or anything like that. To be honest, at any stage, buying followers, no, but definitely ads, you can for sure do that at some point, especially if you've got your own company and you're trying to build a brand like that. But what I would say is that think of it as a possibility in the future. So when you're starting to make content, when you're starting to have like content pillars, think about what could be a possible ad in the future. It is a really powerful way. Ad spend is such a huge such a huge topic. And I was speaking to someone about this recently as well, where she was saying that a brand spends 14K on ads a week. Is quite a big company. They spend 14K on ads. They spend 4K on her services. So their total ad spend is £18,000. It's obviously a lot of money. This is a huge company, so it's a lot of money. But you could either do it yourself or you could pay someone who's an expert to do it for you. I don't know anything about this whole ad spend world, and there are experts that you can find to do it for you. I would personally say that if you build your brand enough, you don't need to spend money on ads. I think ads are a good way for people who maybe don't have a following or maybe want to kind of get a quick result. That's, I would say, a good way of doing it. But otherwise, it's not necessary, I think, to dive into ad spend right away before you've even tried growing your brand organically. Now, let's think about growing our audience. I touched on it a little bit before, but I want to think a bit about analytics. And I think a lot of people who start off never look at analytics, and the only analytic you look at is the number of views, the number of likes, the number of comments. And yes, these are analytics, correct? But you want to look a little bit deeper. So you want to go into the actual analytics on the platforms. They all have their own versions, and look at like where your views are coming from, who is watching you, male or female, what are the ages, what times do they watch, like what are they watching again and again, where are they coming from. Like YouTube even has what keywords are they searching to get to your video. So for example, like for my video, I was looking the other day for a brand and the keyword was how to analyze data using AI. So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do another video for you guys, I'm gonna include these keywords in the title. So you can use the analytics in a way that will help you gain even more attention next time, because now you know that people are looking for those keywords on the platform. It's something that I learned because I was part of the YouTube, like Next Up, YouTube Women to Watch, YouTube like partnership thing. And it was, I was taught it there, but most people don't know how analytics works. And again, I think it's quite a tailored thing. So it's like, you have to kind of look at your analytics and see what yours says and then bounce off of that. I hope that you found this third video helpful, and I hope that it gave you some tips for just how to begin. Like guys, this is a massive world. It takes time to perfect, it takes time to work, it takes time to actually build a platform. It's not an overnight success. I really wanted to just give you the tips to get started and what I would do if I were to start today. This is exactly what I would do if I were to start today. If you want me to look at your social media, if you want me to help you with a strategy, help you with content planning, things like that, I have got my own social media agency, so feel free to leave me a message. I'll leave the link for it down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.